Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what we have in store for you today. In today's story, the man says, "After I found out my wife was cheating on me with her boss, I calmly waited until the perfect time to serve her the divorce papers." This is a complete story, so stay with us until the end. We'll start with some background. My SO and I were married for 16 years. Our two children are a 9-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl. Although our marriage was quite difficult at first, we managed to get through those difficult years and have improved greatly as a result. Our marriage was young, so maturity wasn't fully developed. But we were confident in our love for one another and our ability to overcome any challenges that might arise. I'm still not sure whether this was wishful thinking. Anyway, my wife is a manager of a very big advertising company and I'm in engineering. Both our jobs pay well and gave our family a pretty good lifestyle. We were a very tight-knit family. We always make sure as parents that we are there for our kids to create great memories. No matter how busy we got, we always made time for our kids. Honestly, I consider myself a good dad and husband. I messed up sometimes when it came to my wife, but I did anything for this woman and it honestly shocked me to my core when I found out that she was in a long-term affair. This brings me to the discovery. The wife was acting distant. In fact, the last 2 years before this one were the hardest. She just didn't seem to like anything I did. She kept comparing me to her boss and would always tell me how he would handle this or that. Can't read her mind? Well, her boss can. Don't take the initiative to take her out on dates and make her feel special? Well, her boss does that for his wife. I would ask what she wanted me to do to spice up our love life. Her answer usually is, "Don't ask. You need to already know and do it." So I researched and brought books. Since I was clueless, someone else had to have the answer. Anything I attempted was met with either half-hearted appreciation or bitter disappointment. My wife was never like this in the years I've known her, so I thought that inability to make her happy was something I seriously needed to fix. Little did I know it wasn't me who was doing the fixing the entire time. We were very close to her boss and his wife. They also have kids, and the kids love each other. We brought them to our barbecues, family outings to the park, game days at the arcade. They have been to our house numerous times and we've been to theirs. It's no surprise that we became close. I would confide in her boss about our marital problems. He gave me good advice. I thought he was a swell guy. Anyway, back to the discovery. I had grown emotionally tired from my wife's demands to better myself or the marriage was done. I was honestly shocked with her attitude because, before all of this, I thought we had a great marriage. So one night she was busy laughing and giggling while texting someone. I was next to her in bed and was curious. The moment I leaned my head to take a peek, she viciously pulled away from me. She was angry instantly, asking me what I was doing. I told her I wanted to see what the joke was and she told me it was none of my business and retreated to the bathroom. I think that's the day when I just knew deep down that there was an affair of sorts going on. I did not have proof though. I made the mistake of asking her directly the next day. She was furious and denied any wrongdoing. I did not have access to her phone, but I wanted the truth terribly. I asked for her phone and she refused. Only later during the night she grudgingly gave me the phone. Almost every text message she sent to specific people were deleted. I could tell because some of the conversations seemed inconsistent and others downright ridiculous. I gave her the phone back and we did not speak of it until a month later, when I was able to get a buddy on it to check the phone and recover deleted texts. My wife had gotten another phone prior and hardly used the one she handed to me. Some texts were recovered and it was through bits and pieces that I finally had proof that there was an affair going on, and you already guessed it, with her boss. I just knew if I confronted her then and there, she would find some way to weasel out of it, so I bid my time. All I could think about is how it was going to affect the kids. The situation was horrible and I cried in front of my buddy. I still did not want to give up the marriage, so a few days later I brought the book. How to Help Your Spouse Heal from an Affair. I started reading, hoping that if I gave it to my wife, she would stop this nonsense. I wanted my wife back and I wanted to save the marriage. I had planned on talking to her on that Saturday to work things out, but she had told me they had an emergency at work and not to wait upon her. Of course, I contacted the workplace on the day to confirm the story she gave me and received no answer. They were not open on Saturdays. I tried her phone but no answer. She came back home at 2 in the morning on Sunday and immediately showered and then came to bed. I asked why she was late and she dodged the question by saying that she already told me not to wait for her. I was sick of this. I did not give her the book I brought. She saw me suffering and didn't care. I contacted her boss's wife to find out from her if she knew anything. I was so desperate for stability, and to this day I don't regret doing that. She was shocked as I was when finding out. She wanted to confront her husband, but I told her he will probably lie and try to hide it better like my wife did. We met at her house to discuss what was going on, and I gave her the little proof that we had. She wanted more evidence, so we both decided to gather evidence on each of our sides and compare them. I started snooping on my wife more, and she did the same with her husband. It was very easy on her end to find undeniable proof. Her husband was so arrogant that he didn't even delete the text on his phone between him and my wife. And the little text I found earlier finally made sense, and we had a whole picture of how long the affair was. 2 years. The boss's wife was livid, and so was I. She wanted to get revenge on them, and so did I. They slept together everywhere. Her house, my house, expensive hotels, business trips. It was sickening to read all that. They even sent each other pics. But we decided to ignore the pics because we didn't want to scar ourselves with the images. We wanted revenge, but not an affair ourselves. We both decided that if they wanted each other, then they could have each other. We both drew divorce papers at around the same time. We were dead set on it. Our spouses didn't know that we knew, and we acted our part. By the time our ducks were in a row, they were at it again. This time, through collaborating with the boss's wife, we knew exactly where and how they were going to be served. We knew which hotel they booked for their weekend of fun. I personally went there with the sheriff. I waited in the lobby as the sheriff got everything working, and my wife was called to come down from her room. She did, dressed in a bathrobe, and I fear nothing else. She is panicking, frantically asking me what I was doing there. It was quite a distance from our home, but not too far. The sheriff asked for confirmation of her name and information. She confusedly answered in the affirmative and was served. It was very satisfying to see the shocked look on her face, but I did not want to rub it in, so I decided to walk away knowing the job was done. She didn't let me and was holding my arm, pulling me back and demanding to know what was the meaning of this. I told her, "You had an affair and I'm leaving you." She started screaming at me and pulling my arm hard, and the sheriff had to step in and tell her to release me at once. She did so and started crying, telling me she can explain. I had the wrong idea and it's my fault. I was getting angry, so I left quickly to get home. My wife told her boss and he panicked. From what I was told, he rushed home only to be served there. We did not give them time to get their heads on straight. We blindsided them just like they did us. My divorce was finalized in a couple of months. Hers might be taking a bit longer. Both my wife and her boss have been fighting us on the divorces. Neither wants to get divorced. The excuse I hear is that they never intended to leave their spouses. It was purely physical, nothing more. People have worse affairs and still come out with a great marriage. They messed up and would like a chance to unmess the situation. I have asked my wife what she thought the outcome of all of this was. She said that she was going with the flow and acted completely out of character. She is not that person anymore. I told her she's an idiot. People around me are calling me evil for not giving my wife another chance. My kids know what's going on, age appropriate, and they are behind me 100% and would like it if we stayed together. My resolve is slipping, coupled with the fact that we still live in the same house and my wife is going to therapy and reading the book I brought. It's getting harder to stick to my guns. She says she's remorseful and will do whatever it takes. All I tell her is that she's sorry she got caught, and that's all I needed to know. She's called me a bitter, resentful person who can't look past the negativity. She apologized for it later, but I know that's how she feels. The boss's wife and I still talk, and my wife absolutely hates that. She thinks I'm going to have a revenge affair, or her boss's wife is the reason that I will not give us another chance. She has asked me repeatedly to initiate no contact with her boss's wife, just like she did with her boss. I told her she was crazy. We didn't do anything wrong, and why should I respect your opinions now? I think I'm done. I have no respect for her. She still doesn't want to give up and is actively trying to engage with me about her thoughts and processes to her affair. I see them as excuses, so I don't entertain her. She wants me to do therapy with her. I read in many places where the therapist blames the victim, so I was like, hell no. She wants me to read infidelity books with her. What is the point if we're going to divorce anyway? She wants to be intimate. I told her she was not going to manipulate me with that. She says that it's not manipulation and she just wants to show me how much she loves me. I corrected and said, love me now, you mean? I will never be anyone's fallback plan. I feel very bad for treating her the way I do. I still love her even though there's hate there. Am I being unnecessarily cruel to her? She is trying really hard, but I just don't care. Should I reconsider the divorce? Now, we have the first update coming up next, but before that, let me remind you to hit that like button if you're enjoying the story so far. So this story will reach many more beautiful people like you around the planet. Here is the first update. Firstly, my wife and I are in a sort of a good place right now. It's not because we're reconciling. No, I'm still divorcing her. The short version is my wife is still begging for another chance and is doing whatever it takes to get it. I will not give it to her because her affair was way too long for me to get over. If it had been a one-night stand, that would have been a different story. But no, 2 years is just a slap in the face. I have gone to a few therapists and one session was very good and made me understand that my wife is actually remorseful. She has not been perfect with how she handled the fallout of her affair, but she has been trying pretty damn hard. The second session was a mess of her upset at me for continuously contacting the boss's wife and her being afraid of a revenge affair. It was the angriest I was ever through this whole mess, and we did argue a great deal later because I refused to do what she wanted. The boss's wife is still leaving her husband. Her husband is still fighting her on the divorce. She is adamant as I am, and I will admit we do confide in each other when we have low days. I still do not see any affair happening. We are just on friendly terms with each other. That's all. She is a strong and independent woman who takes no BS from anyone. My wife doesn't work at the advertising company anymore. She works elsewhere. She resigned shortly after I served her. She has been strictly in no contact with her former boss. According to her, she reached out to forums to get help on saving the marriage and used that advice. She has offered me everything under the sun to be given another chance. I'm not sure I have it in me. The closer the divorce comes to being final, the more at peace I feel. We recently had a long discussion of her asking to have a chance after divorce. I was not completely opposed to it actually. She seemed quite willing, but I do not see how that would benefit any of us. To be honest, a huge part of me wants this divorce out of a fleeting sense of justice. It's the only justice I can get without lowering myself to an adulterer. My wife is very insecure compared to OBS. OBS is younger, a model, very attractive, and owns a successful business. It makes my wife paranoid that I will give into temptation and cheat on her as revenge. I still cannot believe the nerve of her to give me the two wrongs don't make a right speech. Of course, she isn't wrong and I don't intend to ever follow through, but her hypocrisy infuriates me. Every time I'm going to visit OBS, she gets extremely sad or extremely clingy. I don't know how many times she has thrown herself at me just to make sure that I don't cheat on her back. It absolutely floors me that cheaters are this selfish, only thinking about themselves and their pain while the betrayed have to trudge along and try to pick up the pieces. The boss is still living in their holiday home, begging OBS to take him back. I'm not going to lie, it brings me a sense of great satisfaction to see him suffer the consequences. He has not tried to threaten me because of how much leverage I have on him. He has to deal with the fact that I'm still in contact with his wife. He is allowed to visit his kids anytime he wants. Still, he makes sure I'm not around first. I pity the guy honestly. Currently, my wife has been super apologetic. She has showered me with affection, which I simply brush off. The rage I feel is becoming overwhelming. Now here is the second update. During a recent therapy session with my wife, she requested that I gave her a little more time for her to win me back. She had reason after reason why it would be a good idea for me to at least try to see if I could participate in recovering our marriage, not necessarily reconciliation yet. I repeatedly brought up the fact that she was only trying now because of the fallout of her affair. She would never be trying if she was still seeing OM. She emotionally abused me for months, and I'm not the type of person to get walked all over, even from the woman I loved. I asked her if she was willing to put up with my anger because I had plenty to spare. She was like absolutely, and she would like me to unload on her whenever I feel like it to help myself process the pain. After the session, my wife and I had a long talk during the drive back home. She questioned if I felt emasculated due to her affair. Considering she had never asked me that before, I was genuinely surprised by the question. I answered yes. She shocked me by asking if I would feel better if I slept with another woman. She explained that she was talking about a trial separation where I go out and get my mojo back. She will remain faithful and wait until I'm good and ready to come back to the marriage. I thought she was desperate before, but I found her proposal crazy. I asked her how that would benefit the marriage in any way for both people to be having affairs. She told me mine would not be an affair because we would be separated with conditions aligning with my freedom to see other people in place. I told her that's a huge risk on her part, and she responded that we were getting divorced anyway. So if this doesn't help us, at least I can see what the outside world has to offer. I obviously rejected the idea because it seemed way out of character for her to propose that. My wife has been strangely calm and patient these past few weeks. She's like a different person from the crazy insecure one. She has been very generous in the divorce. I've read so many times where divorces get nasty, but not mine. Now here is the last update to this story. Our divorce will be final in the middle of February. We have split everything half and half. I have decided to stop going to therapy with her. I was giving her false hope and sending her mixed signals. She has confessed that she has a burning desire to be intimate with me. Throughout the time I've been absent here, and her understanding that I felt emasculated and undesirable thanks to her affair, she has been frequently trying to engage me in the bedroom. I've rejected her though, but she still persists, adamantly stating that this has nothing to do with reconciliation and she just wants me to feel good and desired. I have cut off contact with OBS for now because things were getting a little too personal for my liking. She has stated that she would wait for my divorce to be finalized before we tried anything. She is an attractive woman, but I don't know if I can return her feelings. I don't know how to handle that at all. The ex-boss recently met me in person to apologize for everything that happened. He was always an arrogant guy, and this experience really humbled him. I did not accept his apology. Call me petty, but I don't give a poop about what that idiot is going through. My soon-to-be ex-wife threw away, burned, and replaced anything that had to do with the boss in my house without me asking her to, because frankly I just didn't care to know exactly where they had done it. It's not easy for me to switch off these feelings. Is this a trap? Am I being played? Before someone says kick her out of the house, I have already tried that, and I want her there because it's less of a hassle until the divorce is done. I thought I wasted all these years on a woman who was nothing but worthless, but she gave me great kids and great memories. These things I will never forget and will cherish as a man. Why can't I see this as a positive thing? Why can't I judge her for her actions now? Someone else will end up getting the better and improved version of her while I venture into another uncertain relationship. Why not fight for this when everything seems to point to something good and a future? These are the lines I've been given, and I have one answer. I will not accept disrespect. Maybe I was willing to do it in the early stages of discovery, but I woke up from that quickly. Long story short, it's over. My ex and I have officially separated for good. It happened almost 3 weeks ago. For the better part of a few days after the fact, I grieved like I lost a loved one. I think it hit me extremely hard that my marriage failed so spectacularly. Never cried that hard ever since I discovered the affair in the first place. Everything has been organized for my ex. She moved out of the house and I'm looking to buy her out of her part of it. She lives in an apartment now. Very big downgrade for her and it pretty much depresses her. She is still going to the therapist, still invested in reading and studying infidelity. Don't know exactly why. I called OBS today and offered her dinner after the holidays for her support when it absolutely hit rock bottom. She said she would love to. I knew this stuff doesn't happen often, but we really supported each other throughout all of this and I owe her thanks. You guys may think I planned this with OBS, but I honestly did not. My emotions have been so messed up these few years that the very thought of another woman never crossed my mind. And it's dinner, nothing else, unless we both want it. But the closer the divorce gets, the more I realize I actually have options, and one option has been right there. So this past weekend, I accompanied OBS to dinner with the intention of enjoying each other's company and chatting. We talked about all sorts of things. Things got flirty between us and I must admit I was very reluctant to entertain the rapidly changing mood. Well, I guess I should say that the night ended in a very passionate way. It was probably the most mind-blowing I've ever had. OBS is very much a giver and spades above my ex. I did not intend for it to go that far, but OBS was willing and I was as well. Learned quite a few more tricks in the sack. First time I ever had someone that enthusiastic to please me and not the other way around. Guess I shouldn't call her OBS anymore, as she divorced her ex. But for privacy's sake, I'll just use that. I do not think we will take our relationship further, to be honest. I think the hormones and wine got the best of us that night. She would like to, but I am undecided. I need to sort myself out emotionally, and I think she does as well. I feel really good. What I had with OBS really helped a lot with my self-esteem issues. I felt desired and alive and finally understood what I was missing out on. What was more satisfying was knowing that I was not cheating and did not lower my morals. All things considered, I'm very proud of how I handled this crap. I wasn't perfect, but I did the best I could. Have a good one, everyone. Well guys, thanks for listening to today's story. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did recording it for you. Please like, share, subscribe and hit the notification button so you won't miss out on our future videos. Take care.